Hello everyone from a very loud lily flower garden here in Changi Airport. I've just got off that Qantas A330 behind me. I'm on my way to Helsinki today, and this video is going to be about the economy class product on Finnair's A350. New product for me. Just got off the Qantas A330, as I said, and I actually got bumped up to business class. So I've done a review of that before. I'll throw in some clips here and quickly go through my experience, but all in all, I think Qantas are heading in the right direction. The staff is super. But yeah, I've got a couple of hours now in Changi, and yeah, we'll be heading on to the Finnair A350, and I'm very excited to see what it's all about. So let's go have a good time.
So hello again from voiceover Matt. Now, as many times as I've been through Changi Airport, every single time it blows me away. I truly do think at the moment this is the best airport in the world. Just the facilities, the uniqueness of it, it's truly stunning. And on this particular evening, it was bussin' busy. I haven't been to Changi for a little while now, but I can't remember it ever being this busy. But it's great to see. I guess travel is well and truly back. And here's the star of the show for the evening. A 5-and-a-bit-year-old A350 delivered to Finnair, I believe in February 2020, so just before the pandemic, I guess. So don't quote me on this, but I believe that One World Ruby received priority boarding with Finnair. The only reason I say this is on both flights I was boarded super early and did have a little priority logo on both my boarding passes. Boarding was done super efficiently, and my word, what a nice cabin to walk into.
All right, thank you.
Popular.
Hey, very popular.
As you get on the aircraft, it just felt so warm and welcoming. A really unique galley to sort of walk into. A very quick look at premium economy. Looks like a product that I'd definitely be wanting to try on this aircraft. And then moving through to my economy cabin for the evening. My seat on this flight was 56A, and my first impressions of the economy class cabin is it's just super crisp. On arrival at your seat, you just have a blanket. There's no pillows on this flight, which, to be honest, does suck a little bit, especially on a long-haul flight where you're trying to get some sleep. So let's have a look around the seat. Here is your pretty big screen. It has a standard USB charging port there and the port for your headphones. A little compartment where you can store your passport, I guess.
We're happy to have you on board Finnair.
There's a bottle of water waiting for you as you arrive, and I actually didn't really like the pockets on the seats. There was only a singular pocket, and they just weren't sort of big enough to get everything in. Legroom was decent, but not world-changing. I actually would like another inch or so of legroom on a long-haul flight like this, but at the end of the day, it wasn't terrible.
Hello, and welcome on board Finnair. Before departure, we require your full attention for a moment. Our safety depends on both our crew and on you. We are here to ensure your safety on board. It's essential that you always follow the instructions.
Also be used as rafts. To find your nearest exit, follow the escape lights at floor level. Our cabin crew will now point out the exits nearest to you. Locate your nearest exit, and remember, it might be behind you. If we need to evacuate, you must leave all carry-on bags in the aircraft. Thank you for paying attention to our safety instructions. If you have any questions, please ask our crew.
Now, a feature I always love in economy class is being able to see what's on the menu for your flight, and this was very much an option on the Finnair system. Always just makes it a little bit less awkward when the air hostess rocks up and asks you what you want for dinner. You can tell them exactly what you want straight away. And similar to my Air New Zealand 787 experience back in 2019, they had this option where you could actually order a drink straight from the screen. Wasn't available at this point in the flight, but after the dinner service, if you wanted a Sprite or a cup of tea or one of the complimentary drinks, you could just order it from the screen and it showed up a couple of minutes later. For alcoholic beverages, you did have to pay. The first alcoholic beverage was free with your meal, but as you can see here, it was €7 or 400 avios for like a pretty standard looking beer. So you could have a beer with your dinner. If you wanted a second beer or alcoholic beverage, you had to pay for that. It's a little bit cheap, but I guess fair enough. Another area where Finnair's in-flight entertainment sort of excelled was this home screen. It sort of laid out the forecast of the flight, so you knew when you were going to get dinner, you knew when you could sleep, and you knew when you were going to get breakfast. And as you can see here, we were ahead of schedule, which is always nice. It was then quickly dinner time, and I picked the sweet soy braised beef with rice and vegetables. I know that because it was on the menu. The standout for this meal for me was actually the cold starter plate, which was a Thai grass noodle salad. This was really yum. To go with the meal, I had a Coke and the famous Finnair blueberry juice, which, going off my reaction here, was pretty good. I was then planning to get some sleep, so we head to the toilet for the Mile High Club review. And again, for an A350, it's a very standard lavatory. There was some nice spray that you could spray in the bathroom once you'd finished up, but all in all, very basic. Pretty clean, which I think is always important, but certainly nothing setting it apart from any of the gold standard lavatories out there. I then grabbed my thin but not scratchy blanket, and the cabin lights were dimmed. This was one of the really cool features, and I don't know if other A350s do this, but Finnair sort of had this blue and green light, and I assume and I hope that it's replicating the northern lights that you get to see when you go to the northern parts of Finland into the Lapland area. I thought this was a really cool little touch. Then did my favourite party trick and slept for about 8.5 to 9 hours. Waking up with only, I think, 3.5 hours to go. The reason this flight is so long at the moment is you do have to avoid the Ukrainian and Russian airspace, so you sort of end up doing a bit of a loop-de-loop around the southeast part of Europe. But I was having a great time with this flight, so I had no problems with it going for 13.5 hours. Another great thing about Finnair's in-flight entertainment is the amount of arrival information that it gives you when you get into Helsinki Vantaa airport. So you can see where your next flight is departing from, and it sort of takes out all the guesswork of worrying about where you got to get to and if you're going to make your next flight. My next flight to Frankfurt wasn't until 5 p.m. We arrived at close to 6 a.m. So I had no stresses at all about whether I was going to make my next flight. So, while we wait for breakfast, let's have a proper look at Finnair's in-flight entertainment system and what amount of movies and TV shows it has. Again, I was pretty impressed with the whole in-flight entertainment system. I think it was very thoughtfully laid out. Unfortunately, as I was going through trying to show everyone the movies, I already scrolled the end of each row. So as I scrolled, it sort of went nowhere, and I didn't figure this out until halfway through filming. So apologies for looking like a bit of a fool, but there was a very large catalogue of films and TV shows. I definitely had a list that I'd gone through early in the flight and decided to watch, but I think I only ended up watching half of the latest Indiana Jones movie before I fell asleep, and that was practically it for the whole flight. Finnair also had this awesome in-flight map. It was highly interactive, highly customizable, and highly detailed. It essentially felt like a slightly cheaper version of Google Earth. I could zoom into my own house back in Perth, and it came up pretty crystal clear, which I think was pretty cool. As you can see here, we're sort of doing that loop around the bottom of Southeast Europe, and now heading up to the north of Europe to Helsinki. All in all, I think this is the best flight map that I've ever seen on an aircraft, and I'd love to see it on more airlines. It was then time for breakfast, which is always the worst meal while in economy.
Thank you.
And although it might not look like much, this omelette at the time was the best omelette I'd ever had on an aircraft. My only complaint is they put this hash brown beneath the omelette, which meant that was very mushy by the time I got to it. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for an aeroplane omelette. Who would have thought? Paired with, of course, more blueberry juice and a cup of coffee to get me going. I love it when airline marketing teams get to do something on the interior. I love this little F up on the galley. Qantas, take note, this is exactly what you should be doing. Another little complaint was you can't charge your phone and have your headphones plugged in at the same time as they get in each other's way. A little bit annoying, so I just was listening to my Bluetooth music as we came into land because I had charged my phone all night and it charged very slow.
About 45 minutes flight time remaining, so estimate landing time will be around 15 minutes before 6 a.m. local time. And when over Helsinki are already cloudy with some light rain. I hope you all enjoyed this flight. Thank you for watching Finnair. Have a nice day. Ja arvoisat matkustajat.
You can still move around the cabin
time is 5:45 in the morning and the current outside temperature is 6 degrees Celsius. Please remain seated and keep your safety belt fastened until the captain switches the signs off. When opening an overhead locker, please be careful so that items don't fall out. You may now switch off the flight mode on your handheld device. On behalf of all of us at Finnair and the One World Alliance, it's been a pleasure having you on board today. Thank you, and we hope to see you again soon.
So, tervetuloa to Helsinki. And this starts to conclude my experience on Helsinki's A350 in economy class. Overall, had a very comfortable flight. Again, I'd like there to be 32 inches of legroom on a flight that's 14.5 hours long, but let's be real, Finnair aren't really hiding the fact that they're cost cutting. No tray service with dinner, no pillow, which makes it a little bit harder to sleep, and no amenity kit, which is the other really big one. So at the end of the day, I think Finnair are only trying to be a 3 out of 5 sort of airline, and they're doing a good job at being a 3 out of 5 star airline. In terms of cost, this was actually part of an around the world ticket. It's a little bit harder for me to actually tell you the exact price of this flight, but I'm going to say it was more on the slightly expensive side, as it was booked as a Qantas/One World ticket, and there were definitely cheaper options to get to Frankfurt, which was my end destination. I think it was about $200 more than like going via Emirates or Qatar, which is the way that most people would get into Europe from Western Australia. What I didn't expect though was how nice Helsinki airport was going to be. I'd actually missed the Miami Grand Prix, so that was the first thing I did when I got into the airport, was sit down and watch the highlights from the night before. People who know me know that I am a huge Formula One fan, so it was really good to see Oscar get the win there, so I walked out of the airport pretty chuffed. But that did mean I was about 10 to 15 minutes behind the rest of the airplane deboarding, and look how quiet the airport was. There was absolutely no one at the baggage claim. There's literally no one here. So, Easter Monday things, I guess. There was no one in the immigration line, and as I exited the airport into the general sort of like foyer area, it was completely dead. But I can confidently say this is definitely, at this point in time, my favorite airport in Europe. It just was so well run, easily connected to the city via the train station. Everyone was super nice, everything super clearly marked out. And I'd definitely say to anyone who was thinking about transferring through here or just visiting Helsinki that you're going to have a 5 out of 5 experience coming through the airport. My only complaint would be the price of the food, but I guess that is part and parcel of being in the Scandinavia region. Everything's just a little bit more expensive. It was now time for me to go and spend a nice 12 hours in Helsinki before catching my flight to Frankfurt in the afternoon. Thank you so much again for watching. I do only make these videos for fun as I travel so much. So a subscription or a like on the video does sort of motivate me to come back and do another one. My next video out is going to be me flying on the Qantas A380 on the Kangaroo route from London all the way to Sydney, including the stopover in Singapore. So I'll see you again. Until then, fly safe.